Train by day, Kyle Wigginton podcast by night, all day.
I wouldn't say, I mean, I keep a clean household too, but like, I wouldn't say I'm a clean freak, but I'm also a guy that has very little furniture. I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only have a computer desk, and a bed and one chair.
In your like room or in your whole house?
Oh, my whole house. You need to pull that mic up to you. Yeah, my whole house. Like when people come over, they're like, "Did you just move in?" I'm like, "No, I've been here for years."
So what I do is I create basically 2 living rooms in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my living room. My living room will be like a couch or 2, my TV, coffee table, and then maybe a computer desk.
Mm-hmm.
And my room will be the exact same way. So I'll have my bed, and then I'll have like a futon or something, like a little mini couch.
Okay.
Another coffee table in front of that, and then find somewhere to set up a TV or a projector.
Okay, I'm interested. Why the same setup?
Because I wouldn't have to leave my room. Like I even put a mini fridge in there sometimes.
Okay.
Because if I don't feel like leaving, there's days where I will literally just stay in my room. It's my happy place. Like I like to live in small spaces.
Yeah.
So like if I don't have to leave my room, I'm good. The only time I really want to leave my room if I'm in my house is if I have guests or if I'm cooking.
Yeah.
Like truthfully.
I feel that too. Do you have roommates?
No.
Oh shit! And you still don't like to leave your room?
I don't.
Like I was gonna say, I can see it if you got roommates, you know, but you don't have roommates and you like to stay in his room.
Yeah. Like if I don't have to leave my room, is ideal. What is
the reason behind that? Because I'm the same way, but I just kind of want to know, like, I want to dive into that process of like what you're thinking about whenever you're in the small room. It's just like there's no distractions or something.
No, it is. I mean, it's just like comfort, really. It's just a personal thing. Like
It's like your womb.
Yeah. Like truthfully, it really is. It's just a nice space. Like I don't want to have a bigger space to worry about. I don't want to spread whatever mess I make or anything. It's just I only have this small space to worry about. I'm in the confines of this, and it does keep me focused. Like if I'm working on something really intensely,
yeah,
I have this small space that I'm confined to, and I have everything I need. I don't have to leave it. I don't have to break concentration and focus. I don't have to like break my walls. Like I can live in a closet.
But it makes sense why the futon would be in there. Then that was another thing I was going to ask you about, like why you put a couch in your room. But if you don't want to leave the room, like my whole thing with the bedroom is it's only there for sleeping.
Yeah.
So I only have the bed in there. And anytime I get up, I make myself leave the bed because I just want to like stand there and sleep.
Right.
Like I love sleeping.
No, I could do that, but again, like I can use my room is like a flexible space for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can shift my room to be in different modes. Like when lights go down and off and I'm in my bed, I'm either sleeping or scrolling TikTok or something.
Mm-hmm. And you got that light switch that you flip for when the ladies come over.
Yeah, everything goes pink.
Yeah.
There's a Marvin Gaye comes on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a girlfriend a while back, and she, you know, we got to the point where she was gonna come over to my place.
Yeah.
And she'd been over a few times, and she's like, "Why don't you buy a couch?" And I was like, "Well, it's time for me to break up with you."
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude.
I don't want a couch. It pulls out, unlike me.
No, I don't know. I see myself as like transient, and I think that the more stuff you acquire, the more you're like locked down. Yeah. A couch does make sense. Yeah. A couch and like a seating area if you're trying to entertain people. Yeah. But like, I'm not really trying to entertain a lot of people.
I mean, you have this place, right?
Yeah. If people want to be entertained, we just come up here to the bar and kick it.
Yeah, right.
I didn't even think about that. It's a good idea though. Yeah.
Yeah, let's meet at my bar. You spend some money.
That's kind of what I do. I never thought about it, but I was like, I just don't want people to be at my house.
Yeah. No, I see my space as like my space, you know? I do invite, like, you have to be really close to me. Like, if I invite you to my place, we're close. Yeah. Like, that means something. Like, I trust you utmost. Like, you're damn near family at this point.
Yeah, same kind of way with me. We do have a space at the place that I live, Blue Plate Artist Loft.
Yeah.
It's a soundproof room.
I was walking past that the other day, really.
Oh, you are? Dude, hit me up next time you come by. I'll take you on a little tour.
Word.
The place is really dope. But yeah, there's a soundproof room there that you can go in there and make your music if you're an artist. We do all the dubbing for like the films, the voiceover and stuff that we do.
Really?
In that space. Yeah, it's a dope spot. I mean, there's an awesome like rooftop area. Go out there and meditate in the daytime. But the soundproof room is freaking dope. Sometimes I'll get with I don't know if you know Cameron. You met Cameron?
I don't think so.
Okay, Cameron's like he's a hip hop artist in town. Sometimes we'll get together and we'll just grab like a bottle of chartreuse or something and just go in there and just fucking get tanked and just make some music.
Nice.
Yeah. And I once again, I said, I don't really make music, but I go in there and I hang out with them.
Yeah. That's my role. Like for rap posses, I'm not writing lyrics. I'm there popping bottles with the ladies.
There you go, dude. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so fun to be in those creative environments, even when you're not really creating anything, because the energy you're feeling off of everything that's really the special thing about those getting around those communities of artists. I feel the same way when I come to open mic comedy.
Yeah.
Like just being around all the comedians, there's something about that, man, that just, I can't even explain it. This unfiltered, comedic energy that they bring to the table. It's beautiful.
No, it is. It's what is it? When wavelengths overlap, they enhance. Like if you have two similar wavelengths that are the exact same, they heighten each other.
Yeah.
And so when you're around like an energy in a space that's geared towards one thing, that amplifies when you add more and more people who are geared towards that one thing. So like when you're in a creative space and you're a creative person, you feel that energy and you resonate with it, and then your wavelength sort of like resonates with that too, and it amplifies.
That. Dude, I love thinking of things in that mentality, like the energy around us and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's so true. We're all just a wave. Yeah, and I don't know if you and I were talking about this.
I was about to say the same.
Were we talking about this last week when I was talking about how like the way I say this, I frame it, I say how to become God.
Yeah.
Was I telling you this about the quantum reality stuff?
But you're hitting so many points of a conversation I think I had with someone else. And
okay.
I think it was you. I don't know. I was
talking
to someone like how I'm like really grounded usually. Like I base everything I'm thinking like science.
Yeah, that's what it was. We were having the conversation.
That was us? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So basically, I'll rehash it right now.
Yeah.
But basically, what I was saying was that I didn't make a name for this. Maybe like quantum meditation or something. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Saying that since if you're familiar with quantum mechanics, there's a thing called the observer effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So for anyone who doesn't know what the observer effect is, there's a thing called the double slit experiment.
Yeah.
Where we basically shot photons at two slits, and then they made a pattern on the back of this wall after they go through the slits. So it makes sense that if the pattern on the back is just two lines, that the particles that are going through are literally just particles. Yeah. But then sometimes when no one's watching it and we're still shooting particles through, there's an array pattern on the back. So it states that it's actually moving as a wave rather than a particle. And this is where the observer effect comes in, because if someone is observing the experiment, and it might not be someone's eye observing it, but it could be an instrument that's measuring the experiment too, that the particle wave collapses into a particle. Okay, so that's the observer effect. So I think that when it comes to meditation, the ultimate form of meditation, or what I say is becoming God, becoming consciousness, is to expand from the particle that you are as a human back into the quantum function or the quantum wave. And the way to do that is to take out all the observers.
Right.
Okay. So if you go into a dark room and you meditate and no one's there, there's no phones there that are measuring you, there's no instruments there, then the last thing you have to shut off is your own mind, because your own mind is also an observer.
Right.
So if you get to the point of meditation, which I believe is called samadhi, that's when you can actually still the mind to a point of there's no observer. Then you can actually expand from the particle state back into the quantum function.
That's actually a really interesting way of looking at it. So when I meditate, I see it as sort of like disassociating from myself and going back to a state where the first time I guess I did it by accident was when I took acid, and then I had that ego death.
Mm-hmm.
And I disassociated from myself and became that wave of possibilities.
Yeah.
I wasn't collapsed into a function. Yet a wave function. I wasn't collapsed into one possibility. I was all of them. God.
Yeah, you expanded back out.
It's all possibilities. Yeah. We are an abstract wave. We can be in any wavelength once we remove ourselves and observers from the equation, like you said.
Yeah. So like, what
but
was that?
I didn't put it that way.
Okay.
Well, I didn't put it that way, but that's another way to see it. That wasn't like as tangible.
So like, what were you? You saying you just couldn't put words to it like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, if I had to, so I think we talked about this last time actually.
Possibly.
So taking your observer effect,
mm-hmm.
and because we're saying the same thing,
yeah,
and I love like how people can translate the same ideas across, like how they understand it. So here's my interpretation, mm-hmm. and I think we talked about it last time, which was I don't know if you've heard of Andy Weir's The Egg. I don't know if I talked about that with you.
What is that?
So it's this guy, he's sort of like what was it, The Last Question by Isaac Asimov. He's a science fiction like spiritualist type of guy.
I know all these names, but I can't put. Yeah.
So basically, he wrote a short story called The Egg. I'll run you through that real quick. It basically goes through the events of a guy who dies, and he wakes up and he meets what's basically God. He asks, "Are you God?" He goes, "As you understand it, yes." And he goes, "Oh, what happened? I died." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, my family, what happened? He goes, well, your wife is going to pretend to be sad that you died, but your marriage is falling apart. Your kid's going to love you forever. They weren't old enough to hate you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, oh, well, what's next? Heaven or hell? He goes, not really. You're going to go back. He goes, I'm being reincarnated. He goes, yeah. He goes, so the Hindus were right. He goes, everybody was right a little bit. Come walk with me. And so he basically tells him that you're going back as this 6th century peasant girl.
Oh,
Wait,
shit.
I'm going back in time. He goes, time isn't like how you think about it. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, basically, what's the point of all this? He goes, the point is for you to grow. He goes, if I go back in time, I can meet myself. He goes, yeah, that happens all the time. And he goes, you mean like for me to grow, like humanity? He goes, no, just you. Like with every new life, you become a greater intellect. And with every new life, you expand and grow your base knowledge. And he goes, so what about like meet myself? He goes, there is no like other people, dude. This is just you. Like you are every life that will live, that has ever lived. He goes, I'm Hitler. He goes, yeah. And you're everybody he killed. He goes, I'm Jesus. He goes, yeah. And everybody who followed him. Like you are everyone. And once you have experienced every human life there is to experience, you will grow into me because you're my child. He goes, I'm a god. He goes, yeah, not yet. you're still a fetus, but this is the fetal stage of your development. So the entire universe is an egg for you to grow.
Interesting.
Send them to the next life. So for me, to some degree, I do believe that sort of like a universal consciousness or unified like thing is what we are. We are all the same thing, and at our core, we are all a God, like essentially. And the one thing I heard from religion that like really resonated with me was that we are made in God's image. Not that we look like God, but we have that internal thing inside of us that makes God God. We can imagine and create things that don't occur naturally or just by natural processes. If we figure something in our mind, we can bring it into reality. The same way I imagine that God does. I don't think God literally snapped fingers and the universe came about. A system of processes was created to bring the universe about that we observe as, natural selection and the Big Bang and stuff like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Like physics, right? He created physics, which is like basically just a logic engine.
Yeah. And if God can do that, that's inside of us too. So I think we will eventually get to the point where we can manipulate reality such that it would be akin to like God. And once we reach that point, we will evolve into it. But that's on a higher end. But when I go into meditation or when I disassociate to that degree, I can feel that piece of God that's inside of me that we all share.
Yeah.
It all becomes stained by, physical limitations and human experience. But when you abstract all that away, we are all essentially at our core the same thing, the same infinite, all-powerful being at our core. It just gets sustained and suppressed by the limitations of, life and reality in the physical world.
Yeah. Do you think there are people that can bring that knowledge back with them?
I think to some degree. So I think that with every life, you are born like at an internal understanding starting point. This is why I think that you have some people that are greater empaths than others naturally without having to like really learn. Because I'm observing it now, like especially in this era, I'm seeing that there are people that don't understand the bad effects something could have on people unless it happens to them, right?
Interesting.
Like a lot of people who are in politics or are politically leaning one way will see like anti-gay or homophobic like legislation is not impacting them, but until a family member comes out as getting it, goes, I didn't realize like how harmful this was. It's like, okay, you realize that it caused harm, but it didn't really matter that much until you felt the harm it could have like around you.
Yeah. Why are people like that? You think, because like I feel like I'm not that way. When I look at a situation, I'm like, shit, dude, this is gonna like impact everyone. It's kind of like with the homeless situation in New Orleans. Like that's insane to me that we still have homeless people and there are people that are supposed to be solving these problems. But I mean, like you said, there are probably some people out there that unless they're homeless, they don't understand that that's an issue. Right.
They don't feel like it's not impressioned upon them, like the feeling of they can't like put themselves in that situation and feel or imagine like how that would feel. But I think that people who may have been like, I might be on my 98th billionth loop right now. So like my internal structure for empathy might already be like a little more set than someone else who's probably on their 50th loop, who's like a sociopath who just doesn't feel that as strongly.
That's what it kind of feels like these days, man. It feels like there's a bunch of sociopaths, especially in politicians and in public service. It's almost like these people. I heard, I think it was Rogan that put this the other day. I don't know who I was listening to, some podcast. listen to way too many fucking podcasts. But they were basically saying that there are these people that work in these public service places, and they're getting like $200,000 a year to solve the homeless crisis.
Right.
So there's no incentive for them to actually solve the homeless crisis.
Yeah.
Are they going to put themselves out of a job?
Yeah, exactly. That's the paradox. Like, you can't pay someone to put themselves out of a job, essentially, right? Like, doctors get paid from sick people. Like, it really is, when you pay people to solve the bad things in life, their paycheck determines on those bad things existing.
Mm-hmm.
So to some degree, there's an incentive for them to keep the proliferation of those bad things going.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because it's not enough to leave it to like humanitarian like aid and just like nonprofits and stuff like that. So to some degree,
Well, I think it's just the wrong people are in the wrong positions right now.
I don't know how you get the right people in those positions, because someone who's like infinitely empathetic and would actually approach these jobs with the mindset needed of, I want to put this entire industry out of business that I work for. I want to put it out of business. I want to make sure it doesn't exist
Mm-hmm.
to the benefit of humanity, not myself. I don't think those you would have to be in a position of power to some degree to like control it. And people who respect power don't go for it. That's the problem. We have too many, we have too many silent heroes.
So I think what we have to do, and you know how I feel about this, like the collective, right? We've talked about the app and stuff that I was talking about a while back, but I think that's like really the issue is like we need a way to hold these people that are in these positions in check. So like they need to give us a plan of what I'm going to do this year. And then if they need to hit these goals throughout the year, and if they don't hit them, then you actually get notified because they're your public service people. Yeah. So, I mean, if they don't hit their goals, then it's like, okay, well, then we need someone else in there. So if you start looking over people's shoulders that are in these positions that are supposed to be doing stuff and they're not, they'll leave those positions.
Right.
Like they don't want to, because they don't actually want to work.
Right.
So, I mean, if you, and then you open the position up for someone who might want, because I know people that do awesome community work, but they don't go for those like power positions, like the governmental positions, but they do amazing work on like the community level. But if you could take someone with a huge heart like that and put them in a position, they might freak out because like they've never like had that much responsibility, but that's how people grow.
True. But the problem is also the people, like your constituents. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans are just sort of uninformed, uneducated. That I don't want to say stupid because there's just too much like, insults going around right now. But a lot of people are just like ill-informed and very passionate about things that they don't have a lot of information about and are very easily manipulated. So you could have a good heart. And I think most people who even get to the highest of power, I think even like Mitch McConnell Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, I think they started politics with like a pure heart. I really do. I think they got into it with a pure heart. And I think the process of watching the people you're supposed to represent and love turn on you at every end at the hands of the media and the people you're trying to fight against is something that like corrupts your fucking spirit. I'm getting shat on for doing the right thing. And the people who are supposed to be on my side are getting manipulated into this false narrative to turn against me for doing the right thing, which happens a lot. So I could cash out and do the wrong thing and get celebrated by all you fucking fools. So why not? Because I've been doing this for like 10, 20 years at this point. I had enough. I'm tired of my name being dragged through the mud. I'm tired of my people who I represent turning on me at every turn when I do the right thing. And I'm tired of being broke for it. So I might as well sell you out. That happens a lot in politics, I feel like.
Well, I mean, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the simple solution to that is just term limits. Like you don't need to be in the system long enough where you actually learn how to function around the checks and balances.
But if you're not in it long enough, then you can't like extend out your ideas for change, right? Because if I only have 4 years or 6 years or however long, my plan is going to be something that probably takes like 2 decades. And after that's done, something else comes up.
But it depends on the issue, right? Because I feel like what we started this conversation off on with homeless, that's a pretty fucking easy thing. It's like if someone's on the street and they're homeless, put them in a place and try to help them out.
I think on its surface it's easy, but to be honest, me personally, I can't say that it's easy because I only have, if I think something simple like that still exists, then I probably have a simple understanding. That's how I see myself.
Okay.
And I think the problem is far more complex and maybe not in the way that I expect. Maybe it is coming down to corruption at its base level of just, we have the means. We just have people who are either too ineffective at their job or too careless about their job to do it. Maybe it does really boil down to that, but I can't say for sure. I just know that there is no like one person who I could point to and say, you have to do that. And then it's gone,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've heard me talk about the Super Bowl thing, right?
I don't think so.
That they spent they rehoused the homeless population for the Super Bowl,
Mhm.
and it was 170 people.
Yes.
That's what we're living underneath the bridge. How much do you think it costs for us to rehouse 170 people for 2 months?
For 2 months?
2 months.
I'm going to say 2 million.
I think it was 18 million.
18 million?
17 to 18 million.
Damn.
That's
still not bad.
Well, I mean, even you saying 2 million, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah. No, that would be ridiculous. I was aiming low.
Well, no, I'm saying I think they should have. That's so crazy. For $18 million, they could have built them a tiny home community, got them all dishwashing jobs somewhere, even put them in rehab somewhere to get them off drugs if they're on drugs. Like, there's so many better ways they could have spent that money than, like, they literally shipped 170 people out to a warehouse for 2 months.
See, that's what I'm wondering. Where the fuck did the 18 million go? Like,
whose pocket did it go into? That's the problem with all these programs, right?
True. Like, there's a lot of ways in the money. Like, it hands have to be greased. But I don't know how that. I would have to see like how that money's spent. And I think that's the issue too. Transparency. Like,
transparency. That's what I'm talking about, dude. If we had transparency with all these things, then these people would actually do their job, or they would leave those positions.
Yeah, but the problem is they go, oh, it's classified information. You can't like know this. And it's like, why the fuck can't American taxpayers are like,
yeah,
where
you're spending money on? You're like, it's my money.
Where money's going.
Yeah.
Like the military, I get that. The CIA, FBI, okay, I can understand to some degree, but like homelessness, like we rehoused 170 people for $18 million. I would like to see where that money is going. And maybe it is out there, but that's the thing. I haven't looked.
Anyway, where were we at?
We're talking about the city and the money they were. Wait, hold on. Is that? I really love how big anime is getting. Like, I'm seeing people wear more anime apparel around just casually. It's so fucking cool. I know you probably
just saw the guy on the bicycle with the anime.
Yeah, with the anime hat. He had, what was it? Urahara from Bleach. He had the white, green stripe fisherman hat, bucket hat or whatever.
I didn't even see it. It's pretty impressive. He was on a bicycle riding by.
Yeah, no, people are just like wearing more anime, but I fucking love it. But anyways, that was an aside. Yeah.
Did you look that up?
What?
To see where that $18 million went?
I didn't. That's when my phone dropped. I was trying to. But I need to look at the city's budget like more carefully, because I think the biggest activist work you can do really is being invested in your community.
Can we find that? That should be like open source,
It should be
right?
public. I'm pretty sure we can find it. I'll grab my phone like right now because I'm actually interested. Hold on.
Yeah, I feel like everything the taxpayers pay for should be open source.
It should be. And I'm sure it is to some degree. The problem is how accurate are they like really reporting it, right?
Correct. That's kind of what Doge is like getting into right now, is they're finding a bunch of we paid $15 million for this. And it's like, well, what'd you pay $15 million for? And they're like, oh, we don't know.
Yeah, and the reporting that Elon Musk like put out is like, oh, we saved like $100 billion or $55 billion through cuts, and it was just like contracts that hadn't even, I don't remember the specifics, but contracts that weren't even like Jesus, this is gonna be a pain in the ass. Like figuring out this mic situation, but contracts that hadn't been I guess applied yet, like they set them up and had funds expected to be used, but hadn't actually been like executed yet.
Oh, so the money
hadn't even been moved, or the contract had already been used, so the money was already like gone. So you weren't saving shit just by like terminating the contract or like deleting or whatever the fuck he's doing in our system.
Oh, I got you. I saw one today. It was I can't think of anything right now. Like I literally, the words in my head. Mm-hmm. But it's a place in, I think it was Texas too. Again, Texas, and they gave. It was $18 million per month was going to this place. And then they went and investigated what this place was, and it was just empty buildings.
What place? Here?
No, I think it was in Texas.
Okay.
But it was $18 million per month. So every month, $18 million going to this place. Okay. And so they go in there and look at this building, just an empty building. And they're like, they canceled it immediately. And they said, what is this? And they're like, oh, let me tell you how they put this.
Yeah, we're both.
Well, no, they phrased it in such a way that I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I sent it to all my buddies. They said, oh, come on. Where's it at? What the heck? I know I sent that to them, didn't I? Oh, here it is. $18 million a month for empty facilities that were meant for children from the border crisis. So these were like facilities that were meant for these kids.
Okay.
The excuse the company gave was we were ready to scale from cold status. So they were basically on standby for $18 million a month. Ready to scale from cold status, meaning like there's nothing going on,
right.
but we can scale if you give us $18 million a month recurring payment. That's just, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And this was for the encampments?
Yeah, it was for the children of the border crisis, which I believe is already over with, right? There is no more border crisis.
I mean, that's what literally I've only heard those words come from Trump. And that means like nothing to me anymore. Like,
yeah, I mean, there could still be a border crisis, but still like this is a vacant building that they're just paying someone $18 million a month for.
Are they? So wait, hold on. Who's asking for this money and where is it going?
Yeah, I can look at the video right now. It's the name's in the video. Let's look at it real quick.
Oh, and I think this might be the budget for the homeless thing they were doing in the Super Bowl. I'm trying to figure out homeless voters. Okay, workers' rights, affordable housing. What? No.
Oh, it was in San Antonio. This place. This is where they found this place at, and the company was called. Drum roll. God damn it. Never mind. No drum roll. Take too long.
While you're doing that, Harris's staff. Okay, city officials.
Endeavors. Yeah, that's the company that was it was scoring $18 million a month just to like sit on an empty warehouse kind of thing. And I'm sure the company does other stuff. I don't know, but that was just where $18 million per month was going. I think it ended up being like $1 billion because it's been going on since 2021.
Okay. And he cut that? Doge?
Yeah. As far as I know, they chopped it off because after they went and saw there was nothing going on, they're like, well, what do we need this for?
Right. What do you make of the whole immigration situation? Because Trump kind of ran this whole campaign on that.
So like,
do you support like the actions he's trying to take?
Well, I don't 100% know what they're actually trying to do. I'll tell you my thoughts on it is I think that I have a lot of friends that have immigrated over from a young age. Their parents actually did it right. They came across the right way and now they're citizens. And I think it's a slap in the face just to let people walk into the country whenever these people did it right. And they're actually successful these days. So it's like slapping them in the face whenever you just let people walk in freely. So I think that we should let people in, but I think that they should do it in the proper channels.
Right. I think most people would agree with that. I think the way we have immigration set up is so I think Trump has inflated the problem with people like walking in. I think what happens is that the process that we have for people who do just cross illegally is kind of fucked because we take them in. Like very few people actually just walk and then like go to like a house or something or just like hit the streets and just start like finding work.
Mm-hmm.
I think very few of that happens compared to the amount of people that they catch and they bring into the system. They give them a court date and then like send them somewhere to like wait for that court date.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then they keep them in this process.
And then we're like,
that still takes years. I mean, they still like are in the system and they're still in the country.
And we're giving them money, right, to live as they're over here.
Yes, and in some places, yeah.
Yeah, because there's like hotels that they actually bought out for some of these people in New York.
Yeah,
they're putting these people up in hotels.
Yeah, and we're spending money on that, and I can see why some people would have a problem with it.
Yeah, whenever we have people that are sleeping on the street.
Yeah,
I mean, it's full circle, right?
Yeah, right. I can see why some people have a problem with it, but I guess my part of the issue is birthright citizenship, which they're trying to take away. So some people come over here, whether illegal or not, they have a kid. The kid was born in America.
Yeah.
So does that sort of retroactively like take away from their citizenship here? If they came over illegally and they were born here, I could see the argument being made for like, no, your parents came over here illegally. So you being born here isn't like,
Well, it gives one of the parents legal citizenship too.
Really?
As a guardian, yeah. So, that's a very...
This is really complex, I feel like.
I mean...
So it's hard for me to feel one way or the other.
Well, there's just stuff that we don't know, because like we're a comedian from New Orleans and a guy that runs a bar from New Orleans.
I don't know shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I make people laugh. Okay.
Yeah. And but it's fun to talk about and we can give our own perspectives on it. But like, there's just like certain things that we don't understand when dealing with, but I mean, for me, it makes sense that so one of my buddies, Enrique, he's from Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
His wife just had their second kid And his plan when she was having the kid was to, whenever she's like, 9 months, get on a plane, fly over here,
Okay.
let her have the kid in the US so the kid could get cheaper college tuition. That was the only reason that he wanted to do it, because the kid has to pay really expensive college tuition if they want to come here if they're not a citizen.
So she wanted to come here to get less expensive college, or go to Ecuador?
No. He lives in Ecuador now. He's from Ecuador.
Okay.
Him and all his brothers all came to US for college.
Okay.
So they know how expensive it is. And now his wife was having their second kid, and he wanted to fly her over here so the kid could get citizenship, United States citizenship. So he could get, local tuition, whatever that is, rather than having to pay out of the country tuition.
Right. Yeah, that's why I went to LSU, because out of state tuition is fucking crazy. But
yeah, so you basically just have people trying to work the system any way they can, and I think that anything you do to change up the system, people are going to find other ways to hack the system.
Right. I mean, America just simply has a lot more opportunity than other places, so I can't fault anyone for by any means necessary. I want to make a life for myself. So you're gonna walk in, break some laws, step on some toes. My issue is how much of that is actually going to be a detriment to the people. So when I look at the amount of tax dollars that would go to something like illegal immigrants coming over, and how much we have to pay to capture them and put them, either send them back or let them roam in the country, because these people do work too. Whatever taxes we spend on them, 9 out of 10, they are working and paying into the system, and they can't get benefits because they aren't, in the system. So they aren't even drawing from them in a lot of the times.
Okay.
Compare that to how much money is going to the Pentagon and our military that we don't know where it's going or what it's doing and how many people's pockets it's lining. I'm sure the amount of money in a year, that is a fraction of the amount of money that's totally being wasted that we're giving to them. It's like double or triple whatever we're spending on these immigrants, because America is the richest country on the planet. We have the most money out of anywhere. So when I think about how much money we stand to gain from cuts in much more wasteful places, the fact that the American people are hyper-focusing on places that will save you nickels and dimes at most. And if we cut all of that, maybe made it down to zero and gave it all back to the American people, it'd be like $5 for us, okay? But
so you think that we should keep the people in hotels and basically pay for them to be here until they have a court date?
I think we should or shouldn't. I think it's a matter of personal opinion. Whether I think we should or shouldn't is I guess I could honestly support it either way. I'm gonna actually say I don't care what happens in that respect,
because that's what happens if we cut that program, right? Isn't that what you're talking about?
Because the alternative is either no and then just send you the fuck back. We'll take your application in and then we'll process you here. You stay there when they're running away from potentially life-threatening circumstances. Or stay here, get to work, contribute to the tax system. We'll put you up in and not every place is a nice hotel. I was actually in Texas, and I was driving past on the highway, and there were just literal camps on the side of the fucking road. All these trees, it's like a fucking jungle. So I'm sure in New York, where you don't have much, greenery and open space, where it's all just the iron jungle, you have to go inside of a building somewhere, and it's going to be something relatively nice.
What are they doing with those people?
I have no clue.
The ones that are in the camps, did they just leave them in there? Why do you even have to have a court date? So if you're walking across the border,
because it's what is it? Every state gets to choose whether they do the what is it? I forget the name of it. But it's the program where they process immigrants inside of the state. So it's a state decision. It's not even on the federal level. That's what it was before Trump came in here and did all this shit.
So it's all Texas? Because Texas will be one of the only borders they're crossing, right?
No, some of these people they cross the border and they will get to another place.
Okay, so how did they get across the fucking border? I've never been across the border, I guess.
So some people will come over on a certain visa and overstay.
Okay, and they just stay for forever?
Yeah, and then whatever state they land in or whatever, state has the protections for them, they'll stay in. But when you cross the border on foot or whatever, yeah, you're probably in Texas, you're probably in Arizona, you're probably in California.
Yeah, that's what I think about whenever I think about people crossing the border is I guess they walk up to the border with a bag in their hand and they're like, hey,
our border has some blind spots. So there's not a perfect wall at our border. There's jungle in between some places, literal just greenery that's just roughage. And and it's life threatening. I have a friend, she was describing to me how her brother had to spend 3 days crossing in the jungle on foot to get into America illegally.
Why?
because it's better than whatever he's coming from.
Oh, so she's Hispanic, I guess, or wherever they're coming from?
Yeah, but she was born here. She has citizenship.
Okay.
And I think her family does too, but I don't know what the issue was with the brother. I think they were like separated at birth or something. And he had to like, traverse that to get over here. But I mean, that kind of speaks to me to like the risk people are willing to take, because if it's like American ire and aggression and, the risk of disrespecting an entire country just to get away from whatever you're running from to get here, then for me, the only solution is let you guys come here rather than, fight and spend all this money trying to stop you, because that's cheaper in the long run. Just to let you come and put you up somewhere until we give you a court date and process you and determine whether or not you need to be sent back or let in or set you up with a job. Or fight your country, which is way more expensive in the long run, and nobody really wins a war.
But nobody wants to go to war. War's insane.
It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, even the Ukraine shit, it's dumb.
And incredibly fucking dumb. So I'm not trying to fight Mexico. We're allies. Right. I'm not trying to fight Canada and make it a 51st state. We're allies. And when you talk about like people coming from Mexico, I can see why you're coming from some parts of Mexico, and some of them are criminals, and I don't want them here. Send them back. I do think people should be vetted. I do think it should be done the right way. Don't get me wrong. I don't think open border where, hey, everybody come on. Everybody, hey, just hop into the fucking country. Like, no, that's not a real solution. And I think anybody saying that is fucking an idiot. But
well, I'll say I got two things for that. The first one is I think that I'm cool with the immigration stuff. Do it legally, come in right. But I do think that before we let anyone else in, we should take care of our own people first. Yeah. Which means no people sleeping on the fucking street.
Yes.
Like I think that's a huge issue that I'm dealing with right now. It's like, why are we letting other people in when we can't even take care of our own house right now?
So with homelessness, actually going back to it, how does somebody end up homeless? I want to start there.
Okay, so I had a guy on the podcast from San Francisco, and he actually works in homeless policy. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me that everyone that you meet is 3 bad decisions away from being homeless.
100%.
So it could be, there could be any number of reasons that you're homeless. Maybe like, you got fired from your job, or maybe your car broke down and like you couldn't get to work or something, and you had an outside expense that someone did. He said because they actually study the amount of money that people have saved too, is one of the things they do. And they said the average American doesn't have $1,000 saved. So he said that everyone's so close to this problem that it's actually a more widespread problem than we even think.
Mm-hmm. And what keeps people safe is like the fact that people don't realize like there's so much to be grateful for. We have family and friends, but like so many people I know will say, "Oh, I've been couch surfing." Motherfucker, you are homeless. Okay, you're homeless and lucky. Okay,
yeah, you got good friends.
Yeah, or like I built a tiny home. Not built a tiny home. Like people usually have money when they do that. Mm-hmm. They just don't want the expense of the house. But a lot of people like they'll luck into like having like a van or something they can live in. Like, yeah, I'm living like motherfucker. You are homeless. You are homeless on wheels. But it's true that most people are just like one thing away, even if it's not your decision. I'll actually give you my story. I was in Boston for a year. I was only going to be there for a year, and the last month of rent I had to pay. Mm-hmm. I broke my elbow like at work, and I got it like patched up at the hospital, but I couldn't move my arm for a month. So my last month there, I couldn't pay the last month of rent, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, if I lived here, because I'm away from home, like my family isn't there, I don't have anybody.
Yeah.
If I lived here, this last month, the last check I got, I used that to pay the last month rent. And after that, I was like, what the fuck would I do if I lived here? Because I already had my plane ticket out.
Yeah.
I was coming back here. I was like, if I lived here, I would be homeless. Like I was like that fucking close to like just being homeless with no help.
Yeah.
Like that close. If I didn't have my plane ticket ahead of time, if I didn't plan on coming back here, if I didn't have my last paycheck coming in for rent, I would have had nothing after that.
Yeah. And imagine like that stress that you would feel, and that would lead you to maybe go down a dark path where you're like, dude, I'm going to drink today. Yeah, I'll deal with it tomorrow.
And then money I get.
Well, then the next thing you know, you're 6 months in the road and you've been sleeping in a box on the street.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, like there are people that go down these pathways and they're hard to come back from once you've done it. But I feel like that, if you can kind of set people up for success, then they'll come back around. Like no one, you can't tell me that living underneath the fucking bridge is better than actually sleeping in a bed at night.
Yeah.
Like there's no one that would agree to that. And some people are like, oh, they like it down there. It's like, no, they don't. They're just like they're stuck in this space.
I mean, humans are adaptable. Like you can get comfortable in any circumstance as a human as long as you're experiencing immediate physical like pain.
Yeah.
But you can get comfortable in any circumstances. You could sleep, on the fucking floor outside and be like, you know what? I'm still here. I'm good. I'm not like suffering, physically.
Mm-hmm.
Even in some cases they are. Like they can't get to a hospital. But nobody prefers to be subjected to the elements outside with no way out of it. Like everybody would want to be in four walls in a climate controlled environment in a soft fucking bed.
Absolutely.
And I can understand that some people feel the stress of like, what do I have to do for this bed? I have to go to work, sacrifice 40 to 60 hours of my life every week to make a paycheck that keeps this. But
I even think they would be okay with that if they could just get out of that initial like cycle that they're in. They're probably, because like a lot of these people, sometimes these people are on drugs.
Yes.
So kicking,
to get to that, yeah.
So kicking that habit right there is hard to do initially. So kicking that plus having to go work a 40-hour week and stuff, like that's just a lot of shit you don't want to deal with. It'd be easier to keep sticking a needle in your arm.
True. And that's the thing. Like people die a lot of deaths of despair, right? So like you overdose on drugs, and some people like have this real serious heartbreak at an older age that, for older people, when they lose someone like that was close to them, like a loved one, a significant other, shortly after they die too, because of that heartbreak.
Yeah, I've heard of that. It's crazy.
It happens with men a lot, and suicide, like deaths of despair, are like really big for us. And when you have someone who's in a position that they don't feel that they can overcome, and they have drugs to comfort them, and they don't have any other perceivable way out for hope, and the drugs pull them in so hard too. Like even if I do have a position of hope, it's easier to, like you say, get the drug, get the needle, do whatever.
Dude, drugs are awesome.
Drugs are fucking amazing.
Yeah.
We held a war against them in drugs. What? Like
But I mean, you got to be able to like be responsible and do your drugs.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's why we should legalize all drugs. But because
I like that argument.
In every country where we've observed them legalizing drugs and pairing that with drug education, drug usage goes down significantly when you actually give them. Because I remember DARE was bullshit.
Yeah.
Police officers walk into my class and go, drugs kill. And I'm like, weed? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, there's no fucking way. Like just instead of propaganda, actual education on what the effects of drugs are and what they're meant to be. And then having them legalized so dosages and chemicals are actually clean.
Yeah, so they're not putting fentanyl and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a lot less drug usage, and the drug usage that is happening isn't going off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
To where people don't know what they're putting in their body and like dying randomly.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I hate whenever, once again, I think I was watching Rogan's podcast with that. He was making that same argument to a guy, and the guy was very well spoken, very intelligent, and he couldn't see that side of the argument. He's like, legalizing drugs are never going to be the solution. And it's like, but maybe it is. Like, why can't you just entertain the idea?
It literally is the solution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that he can't even entertain the idea of like, maybe this could be the solution. That's what I don't see how people get trapped into one side.
You see, I think a lot of problem with like American society right now is that people do not have a flexible enough mind to consider Chinese finger trap solutions, right? Because for a lot of issues that we face, the solution might seem counterintuitive, where you have your fingers in a Chinese finger trap. What's the initial solution? Pull that shit apart. But the actual solution is to pull it together, bring them closer to ease that slack so you can pull your fingers out. So a lot of the times when you have a problem like drugs, they're running rampant, they're killing people. So let's make it against the law to use it and disincentivize people from using it. That seems like the smart way to go. It's going
to push more people into going and getting them, right? And be more negative consequences when they get them.
Yeah, well, yeah, it just hurts the people even more because now you got dangerous chemicals. You got a black market that is out of the purview of, our society. It can't be taxed. It can't be regulated. So now you have more dangerous drugs in more dangerous communities that just perpetuates problems in those communities and raises crime. Whereas you legalize them, well, that market disappears because now we're buying it from actual institutions that are regulated. We generate tax revenue from it. We can put safer chemicals and safer dosages. We can limit how much of harmful chemicals we're putting into it and give people appropriate dosages and track how much they're getting so that they're not just constantly coming to the store and getting all this shit. And pair it with education to let people know the effects of what these drugs will have on you, even if they're recreational. And then it turns out people don't don't really go into it when they don't really need it. Because it's different when you have like a vape, right? Sitting there. Whereas cigarettes, people know what the fuck cigarettes do to you. That's why a lot more kids are using vapes.
I see you with your vape over there.
Hey, look, we still don't know what the fuck this shit does, but that's way
you're
better.
Still doing it. You're still sucking on it.
But that's way better than what I know fucking cigarettes do.
I mean, shit, dude. Like, I have a problem with using experimental devices, and that also includes the vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't do any of that. I don't subscribe to any of that shit. I say that, but then I also am drinking the THC seltzers now, which that's kind of an experimental thing because it's nano THC.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Delta 9 too. So it's a hemp derivative. So like, who knows what that's going to do to me as well. But when it comes to like, I see certain people that I did a podcast with a girl one day and she walked in and she was shaking. And I'm like, are you nervous? And she's like, no, I just haven't had my pod today. And she ran out of her pods and she whipped out a pack of pods and like started, sucking on it immediately.
We're talking about like the Views pods or something?
Yeah, I guess like the little black pods.
Yeah.
She started smoking on it. And I was like, how many of those do you do a day? And she's like, I go through about a pod a day.
That's insane. It took me a week to get through one of those.
It's like a pack a day, right?
It kind of, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, no wonder you're fucking shaking, dude. You're addicted to nicotine. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's what we also have these fucking things right here.
Everything can be an addiction, man.
What Andrew Huberman was talking about, like phones, he said, we have no clue what this is doing to the brains of humans right now because we've never had anything like this because there's a certain phenomenon that humans have. It's called scene switching.
Mm-hmm.
It's whenever you walk from one room to another, you're switching scenes. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so normally your brain does this, if you're moving around a room a lot, you're going to be doing it, pretty often, but maybe still like, once or twice every 5 minutes.
Right.
But when you're on a phone, each time you swipe to a new page, like on Instagram or TikTok, you're switching scenes.
Yeah.
So you're scene switching fucking 100 times a minute. So it's like, we have no clue. Like this is frying our dopamine receptors.
Yeah. Actually, I was at work talking to a girl. I had lost my phone. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm like, well, I'm gonna talk. Like I still need like stimulation, right? I was like, holy shit, like this is weird.
Yeah.
Like I was shaking. I was like, holy shit, what?
It's weird, man. I'll sit out there on the sidewalk sometimes when it's like daytime and I'm waiting on orders or something to come to the bar, and I'll just sit there with no phone or anything, just kind of like, letting the sunlight hit my face, just looking around, and people are walking by me like, look at this fucking creep.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Actually, let me go back to the girl thing. I'm gonna wrap that up. So she was sitting there on her phone. And I felt so weird because eventually, like, we have a break room and I was working with like 4 other people and I'd lost my phone.
Yeah.
And they came in, they all sitting down on their phone. And I'm just looking up and I'm just like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah,
like, there's 4 people in the room and nobody's talking. And we're all like, everybody's in like the candy cane position. But she was on hers and I'm talking to her. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm on TikTok. And I see her flicking. And I'm like, let me see a video. I need a hit right now. Right. And she says it to me. She goes, I'm not even like listening or watching the videos. I'm just like flicking past, like just doing this, like literally just for the stimulation.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of fucking weird. Like she was just doing this. Like she showed me a video and then just went back to this.
But at least you're noticing.
Yeah. But I mean, at least some people will watch the fucking video. She wasn't even watching. She was just doing that.
Oh, it's like just a habit.
Yeah, just doing it. Just scrolling, not taking in anything. Just
what the fuck was she doing? What was she looking at?
TikTok.
But I'm saying like she wasn't actually watching the videos. She was just swiping.
It was just swiping and then just like for half a second, just like the next one, like Tinder.
Bro, you were hanging out with an NPC. And she had a glitch right there, dude. That was a glitch in her programming.
It felt like it. But yeah, you're right though. Like when you're when you don't have a phone,
yeah,
and you like look at people
think you're a creep.
Yeah, like if they're talking to someone else, then they'll be engaged in a conversation. But a lot of people will be on their phone and they notice you looking. It's just like weird. It's like, what the fuck did we do before we have this? Mm-hmm. Like, because I do remember, like people walk down the street, hey, hi, and they still do to some degree. But it's like now, and I'm black too, but it's.
Well, yeah, the older black people that come around here, dude, they do that all the time.
Yeah, people. I mean, well, they're older.
They still say hi and stuff though. That is one of the beautiful things about New Orleans for me when I first moved here was the community aspects of it. Yeah. Like everyone that like Miss Addie, who passed away a couple of years ago. Like she was one of my favorite fucking people. And it's this, I think she was like 80-year-old woman that lived like right here in this house.
Mhm.
Anytime I walked outside, she was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I would help her take her trash out and shit whenever I saw her. I mean, it was just like that's what the community is all about.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Like to be able to walk outside and like see your neighbors
Mhm.
and say, hey. They lost a lot of that. My cousin was actually talking to me where my grandmother lives. He was talking about like back in the 80s, there was like a lot of community. Like you could walk outside on any given day. Kids were out in the street playing football and stuff and basketball, and kids like hopscotch or like got the choke on the sidewalk, whatever.
Mhm.
Any given day in a nice little safe black community. And then, crack happened.
Mhm.
Like a lot of crack. There was a crack epidemic. And then everybody was inside. Crime started happening. People started getting killed back there a lot throughout the 90s. And now it's kind of like settled and safe again. But yeah, communities have been destroyed. And I think a lot of that is part of one of the pillars of foundation that leads people to drugs and homelessness and the bad parts of society that we need to fix that the government doesn't seem to have an interest in. It seems like they make more money letting this problem propagate than fixing it.
Yeah, I don't think community's been destroyed. I think community has shifted.
To
So we don't have external communities anymore. Now we have social medias. So we have these kind of communities, like these digital communities.
Mhm.
And it's so much easier to control people with an algorithm in a digital community than it is to actually go to a physical location with people that are actually trying to get together and overtake the government. So I think it's all just a big plan, man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. The access to the digital community, though, because like a lot of older people are being left out of that.
That's fine. They're going to die.
No, bad.
That's how you look at these things. You have to. I think Richard Feynman said, science moves forward one death at a time.
Yeah, but people are living longer lives these days, and these people aren't dead yet. They still count. Like not every old person is in a home or in a hospital bed, just like deet, deet. Like they're still out there in their homes with their families that they see every Christmas and Thanksgiving. You know.
I don't know if you realize this or not, but like we're getting older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
So in 20 more years, I'm going to be one of those old people, and I know how to use technology, but those old people will be gone.
But we had access to it when we were younger. They didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Like eventually they're going to be gone, and then we'll be the old people. So,
But does that mean we don't consider them now?
what you consider them to a point.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Old people frustrate the shit out of me because most of them are like coming from this entitled ass boomer mindset.
Well, I'm just saying the reason I don't consider them for certain things is because I guess I'm thinking long term.
And I can understand that. Like, there are certain conversations where old people, you don't need to be a part of this because it's like, where we're talking about legislation that's going to have its recoup in 20 years and you're 70. Okay.
But dude, that's my issue with like Nancy Pelosi and them.
Nancy Pelosi's, when do you think Nancy Pelosi was born?
How the 30s?
Yes.
What is it?
Yes. She was born in the fucking 30s.
Old as shit. That's what I'm saying. Like you've had conversations with old people, right?
Yeah.
And they get stuck in like this mindset.
Mhm.
Like it's the neuroplasticity. It's kind of gone by then.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we have people in politics that do not have neuroplasticity? Like that should be one of the things that you have as a politician is, hey, my constituents want this, but I see the world this way. Maybe I should look at what they want and see it from a different perspective.
Well, I agree with you. I do think like younger people should be in politics more, but I do think the more experience you have in it, the better you are at navigating it.
Yeah, but that's bad because
the
like
more-
the more experience a virus has in a computer, the more experience the virus has at navigating the computer systems.
But I mean, because it's a double-edged sword, I feel like, because the more experience they have, the more allies they have, the more connections they build, the more friendships they have and ways to reach out and get shit done in government. Whereas, they've been there for 40 years, seeing the same people for 40 years that are higher up now. Whereas you get some new person like AOC coming in, and she's only been in for like the better part of a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
And she has allies, but she's not in a position of seniority. She doesn't have a lot of trust from a lot of people in certain communities and a lot of caucuses. She doesn't have her hands. She hasn't seen a bunch of different things or had to deal with a bunch of different problems that have come to America at a bunch of different times. So like her experience level is way low compared to the older people. So I can trust them more in some sense.
Mm.
And for a lot of older people that still exist and they vote way more percentage wise than younger people, they are what's keeping them there, which is why they matter. We need to be able to talk to these people too and change their minds on certain things, because if we just sit them in a home somewhere and let them watch Fox News all day, they're going to get out there to that poll. They're going to have their walker and wheelchair right out there at the ballot, casting a vote against our best interest. That's why we shouldn't let like old people be lonely. It's sad. One, they took care of your parents or you. And two, they're not getting exposure to what's going on in the current times. All they're getting is Fox News alone in their home because their family doesn't want to visit them.
My parents are screwed whenever they get old.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I don't even live around them, first of all.
Were they not so good?
No, my parents are awesome.
Yeah.
Like the best humans in the world.
Oh, you just don't physically have the access to them.
Well, yeah, I'm not. Anytime I go home, I say, make a list of things that you need me to help you with.
Mhm.
So it's like any construction thing they need on the house. Like we do that whenever I'm home and stuff. But I don't do old people.
No?
Yeah.
Come on.
Even though they're my own parents. I know it's crazy, right?
I have them on the podcast.
I don't do old people or babies.
I don't do babies. I fucking
They're
hate
kind of the same. They're
kids,
kind of the
man.
same thing though, right?
A little bit. They're small. They can't really do anything by
Yeah.
themselves. They gotta help
They
us. But
poop and pee on themselves.
at least an old person can like give me insight into the reality of like 50 years ago.
Okay, yeah, unless they get too old.
Unless they get too old. Well, unless you get too old, then it's like, well, what the fuck do we do? But like if you got dementia, that's fucking sad. But like there's nothing that you can really do. You are little. I have to take care of you, you know? And that can be like burdensome when you already live in a situation where you can barely take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But with babies, no. Like anybody at this point, honestly, anybody who's not 25, leave me alone. Like you got to be 25 and up for me to even like have a serious conversation with you.
How old are you?
I'm 30.
Yeah, I mean, my number's a little lower than that.
Yeah. Hello.
I go 23, maybe 22.
23. I go like certain 20-year-olds can surprise me, but like it's like 25. If I'm speaking to 25 and up, at least to some degree, you've gotten some perspective.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to get perspective on them.
No, I'm not trying to get perspective on them. I'm saying they have perspective.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not worried about that when I'm talking that young. I'm talking about other things.
Oh, you talking about? Oh no, man. I like them old. Okay.
Hey, some people do, man.
my like previous 3 exes, like my last ex was the only woman I've dated younger than me, and it was only about like 3 years.
It's like, how much older are you talking about?
The oldest I've dated was probably like almost like maybe 12, 13 years.
Damn.
Yeah. But that's the only person, like that's the only people I can connect with.
Yeah, you are.
In a meaningful way.
No, you're a wise guy.
Like,
yeah, no,
I can't talk to a 24-year-old with the same like things on my mind as I can with like a 40-year-old.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't want to sit down and have a deep conversation with a 24-year-old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Even myself at that age. Like, even though I was thinking, like I was thinking bigger whenever I was that age too, because I had conversations with older people when I was that age, and they were kind of like, what are you fucking? Who are you?
Yes.
But I wouldn't want to sit down and talk to myself because I'm at a different perspective than I was then.
Yeah. Like I would hate to like hear anything from myself back then, because it is the case. If you can ever look back on yourself in like maybe 5-year increments and go, yeah, I was pretty good back then. Like, yeah, that was fine. You haven't grown, and that's scary as shit. But I have the opposite problem where it's like, I think maybe I'm doing it too fast, because even last year I don't want to talk to me, the stupid shit that was going on in my head. And now there's recording. So like I would hate 5 years from now to look back on this and be like, what the fuck was I talking about back then? I was an idiot.
What do you find that it's because you're like seeking deeper knowledge now, or like why do you think that you have such different perspectives?
So the issue is that I don't go for like really detailed like knowledge issues, and I will eventually, but I try to solve like internal and philosophical like quandaries in my mind first.
Give me one.
Where it's like, okay, something that I came to recently, and it's mostly social. Like my mind is geared towards like human beings connecting and socializing. That's why politics and like processes of politics have fallen by the wayside. But now I'm gonna like start really getting into the nuances of how our government operates, because there's too many question marks. So I'm gonna like to talk about it. But one that I realized like maybe a couple years ago, and it's a quote. Like I felt it internally, but I hadn't heard it verbalized until I saw this quote, which was, you will only be received to the degree of the other person's understanding.
Yeah.
Right. So like these conversations that we have, we can like connect and see each other eye to eye to some degree. But if I had a 20-year-old here,
yeah, it's
like, talk to a 14-year-old about heartbreak and like the reality of like heartbreak and like, 10-year relationships. breaking apart and how you rebuild yourself emotionally from that. Talk to a 14-year-old about that. Not interested.
Yeah, there's nothing to draw from.
Like they won't meet you on that, and they'll think you're fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's the same way with like talking about high concept ideas too, such as the becoming God earlier when I was talking about quantum mechanics. You almost have to like build the idea from the ground up, because you don't know if the person has any idea what quantum mechanics is.
Yeah.
You don't know if they know what even a particle is.
Yeah.
So like that's one of the flaws with communication is every word that I say, you have a different meaning of it in your head.
Yeah.
And that's especially whenever I hear people say, I'm a libertarian, or I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat. It's like every time you say that, the person that you're saying that to already has tags associated with that.
Yeah.
And they're going to immediately look at you and go, okay, well, then you must fall into this category.
Yeah. That's because the extremes of like the things that we hear are the most clearly defined. So I don't know if you saw that like grid of political spectrum where it's like more authoritarian, like it's like an X and Y axis. So as you go up, it's more authoritarian. And as you go down, it's more libertarian.
Okay.
And as you go to the left, it's more, left leaning. And as it goes to the right, it's more right leaning. The far corners of those axes are where you get the, the fucking gun toting, Second Amendment, white picket fence, family values, God, right winger. And where you get the, fucking anarchist, I want to burn down the system and fuck the government, left leaning motherfucker. And then where you get the, everybody should just smoke weed and listen to music and have peace, bro. Like left leaning motherfucker. And then when you have the corporate, I'll sell you all these ideas and take on your libertarian values just to, sell you shit and make me $1 billion and get rich.
And then you have the person who's meditating that is centered.
Yeah. And yeah, they're in the middle.
Yep.
And
they realize it's all just a fucking joke.
But those ideas are easy to conceptualize in the mind when we see the extremes. But as you get into those nuanced positions where someone's like, yeah, I support the Second Amendment and immigration policies, but, I also think, gay marriage should be legal. I also, am for a more robust social security.
Yeah, you can't just choose one side, because they all have these like issues that some you're for, some you're against, Like it's hard just to go, I'm this, and then go down that path. Whenever I discuss politics with a lot of people, I've noticed that it doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter if it's a Republican or a hardcore liberal or Democrat, whatever they want to call themselves. I found a way to stay in the middle. So I found that when I'm having these conversations with people, a lot of times they'll say things and then listen to how I respond, because that's going to dictate what I am. Because I don't claim to be anything. I claim to be like apolitical, really.
Right.
So whenever they're in a conversation with me, they want to figure out where I'm at on the spectrum so that they can say certain things to me. And if I stay right in the middle of the path, they'll kind of use up all their sentences that they're trying to draw me out with. And then we can actually have a conversation.
Right.
Like once they actually get that out of the way, it's like, okay, now we can actually talk about, the issues.
Now, so what I look for when I have these conversations is some degree of good faith. That's the one thing I go to. I don't care if you're actually a hardcore gun-toting, blah, 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 right?
How do you get good faith from someone, though?
So you give them what they want, right? Like I take a hard stance immediately on something.
Okay.
And then I see how they react.
Okay,
and
like
if
do it.
You go hard,
do
like,
it on me.
Are you for or against abortion?
For it.
For it? Well, you're a fucking baby killing, blah, blah, blah. If I get that shit, and it's like, oh, you aren't open to like discussing these ideas. You're trying to feel superior.
Okay, even if I answer your question?
No. I'm talking about like for me. Like I would be you in this situation.
Okay.
Like somebody, they'll use those sentences to draw me out.
Yeah.
I'll immediately take a stance. And then that forces them to show me what it is they want out of this conversation.
Okay, so if they get angry at you for you saying you're for it, then what happens next?
And I disengage, or I change the topic. Like it doesn't matter what they say. It's like, it's killing babies. It's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And I'm still on the fence about it, but maybe I should consider that more. Because I just let them think like I've changed my mind right then and there. And they're usually like, bring it back down and we can just talk about something else. Yeah. If I want to talk to you.
Well, yeah, a lot of those people, they don't actually want, they just want to say the trigger words, the trigger sentences that they've been programmed into. Yeah.
Cause we all have our, we all have a pundit or a couple of them that we look to. And then, like Ben Shapiro, that's how he got like really popular. Like he destroys the libs in the college kid and he goes to these college campuses and he'll say the one quippy thing. and everybody will cheer and they look stupid.
He
And
talks
like,
so fucking fast, man. Like there's
he
no way
does.
you can beat the guy in an argument just because he's rambling off a million fucking words a minute.
You can beat him in an argument. Maybe in the moment when you're hearing information come that fast, it can be disorienting. But if you can keep track of it and you know what's in your mind, like you know your shit, you can easily like fucking counterpoint anything he says because it's still all not all. He's a smart dude, but it's a lot of his bullshit. Like I remember when he used to say that healthcare is a luxury. How do you feel about that?
No, I think that we should provide healthcare. We live in we live in a country that should be able to
We live in a
provide
$1 trillion
healthcare.
country. Okay?
Yeah.
Like we have trillions of dollars we
Like,
can spend.
The only reason we don't is because it's greed. Even if you look at, because I've been hearing people here lately. I've heard this several times. That's why I'm bringing it up. But they're like, "Oh, I went to the dentist and I had to get a procedure done, and they asked me like, do you want to put it on your insurance?" And then she was like, "Yeah, run it through my insurance." And she's like, "Well, it's going to be this much cheaper if we don't put it on your insurance." So they're basically charging the insurance companies extra because they know the insurance companies are going to try to haggle them down. So they jack the prices up whenever you run through your insurance. So it's like the whole game is rigged. Like if they would just, there are solutions that I've heard, like the medical savings account.
Mhm.
Like that's a good solution in my opinion, rather than insurance. But I do know that for some people, like diabetics, like my buddy, which, I say insurance is good for him, but it's only good for him because of the way our system works. It brings his insulin and stuff down to like nothing, having his insurance. But he also has to work a shitty job that he hates to have his insurance.
Right.
So it's like, should we just let these people die? Because like, what happens if he gets depressed one day and is like, I don't want to fucking go to work? Well, then he loses insurance and he doesn't get his insulin.
Well, for a lot of people, they'll just be like, well, go to work anyways, you fucking baby, and blah, blah, blah.
That's what he's been doing for like 30 fucking years.
And then when he kills himself, people will be like, he's just a weak person or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. It really is sad. Like the lack of empathy people have around things like that. But if the dude had free health insurance, it could go to like a hospital and get like some medication, therapy, talk therapy.
But like, what if we took insurance out of the equation? Would it still work?
No.
Why not?
If there was no insurance at all?
If we just said insurance, gone.
No, because then people would just go into medical debt without any sort of reprieve. Because it would still be hella expensive and more expensive in that case.
You don't think that the prices would regulate themselves? Because I think that's why it's so expensive right now, is because people are jacking their prices up for insurance. Because you can go to the hospital and the hospital actually writes off a lot of debt because people can't pay it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but it's only the people that get abused by our system are the ones that are trying to do it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you go to the hospital and you actually pay for your fucking hospital bills, like you're getting shafted because there's a million people that are going to the hospital and they're like, well, I can't afford this. And the hospital's like, all right, write it off. We'll jack up the prices for the next guy.
Well, that's the thing. That people can pay it, have money, right? Like, so.
Or do they?
Yeah, rich people get sick.
Yeah, but middle class people get sick too, and they don't have money, but they still try to do the right thing because they've been programmed to do the right thing.
But that's the thing. A lot of hospitals and shit is privatized. So like they still want to make money. So they'll raise the prices because the rich people who can pay it will pay it. They'll make up for those people who can't.
Okay, so maybe we should do like
but they'll still charge those poor people and they'll get it back like however they can, even if they have to do the bankruptcy route. Or send it to like a collector or whatever. Like
that's
you have the debt.
That's another thing people have been programmed not to think about. Like bankruptcy is literally a business move.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people have been programmed to think, well, if I file bankruptcy, everyone's going to see it in my neighborhood and they're all going to know that I filed bankruptcy. It's like, dude, it's a fucking business move. Like it's all, if this whole game is about making money and structuring your life in such a way, then sometimes you may need to buy a new car, brand new car, and, move into a brand new house and then file bankruptcy because they can't kick you out of your house and they can't fucking take your car.
Possibly. I haven't had to file bankruptcy yet, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. But talk to me in like 5 years.
Right there. Yeah, boom.
Talk to me in 5 years. I'll come back and be like, yeah, I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before you think about it, go fucking get a loan out and buy a car, buy a house.
I'm not gonna do that. No, I can't.
But I'm just saying,
I don't want a house. I'm transient.
But those are two things they can't take from you.
What, a house and a car?
Yeah. So I know people.
Sure.
I know people that have literally went and they've bought brand new trailers and like just took out a bunch of debt. So it wasn't a house, but they bought a trailer, put it on a piece of land. So they bought a piece of land too. And then they bought a new car for their kid who just graduated high school, and then bought another car took out another loan and bought a car for their daughter, who is a junior in high school, and then immediately filed bankruptcy.
Really? Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So debt wiped clean, and now they have vehicles and everything for their entire family.
Would they be able to take out loans as easily? Wouldn't that destroy your credit?
Yeah, but who cares if you're going to file bankruptcy?
Well, that's the thing. Some people might still need their credit in line. Because if you're going to apply for housing, and that's getting more strict, I think, isn't it? Like,
no, they bought a trailer.
Oh, they bought a trailer.
They bought a trailer. They were living on a plot of land. So, I mean, they had their housing set up. I'm telling you, man, like some people view this as a business move. Mm-hmm. So whenever they go to do it, they get their entire structure. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have the bank in on it too. Because the bank's going to recoup their money.
So here's the thing. I want to go back to what you said. They can't take the house or the car from you. I'm pretty sure they can't they?
If they may be able to take the house, but I don't think they can take the vehicles because they can't take your means of transportation away from you. And I don't think they can take the house from you either.
Can't the IRS take anything from you, like as collateral if you don't pay taxes?
Man, you got me.
I have no idea. I don't make that much money to worry about those type of tax problems.
Yeah.
Like that is negligible for me. So the IRS ain't looking, but
why do you think Trump filed bankruptcy?
I pay my taxes.
Huh? Why do you think Trump filed bankruptcy?
Well, he has that amount of money. So for him, it really doesn't matter.
What's what I'm saying? It's literally a business move. If you structure your life right, then you're not really out anything. You're just out your debt.
I'll take your word for it. But
and there are different types of bankruptcy too.
There are. Yeah. There are.
So some you still have to pay the debt down. They just give you a longer amount of time and cut the debt in half or something. Mm-hmm. But some, they just fucking wipe it.
Well, I'll take your word for it. I'll look into it myself. Anybody watching, look into it. This is not financial advice.
That's absolutely financial. Go buy all the cars and file bankruptcy. Do it. Do it now.
Actually do it. And then tell us how it worked out. That'll be my research.
There was something we were talking about, the people that are coming across the border. I thought of a point that I've heard earlier. I want to jump back to that real quick.
Yeah.
One of the issues that people were having with people coming across the border was that in California, they made it so you don't have to show an ID when you go vote.
Okay.
So they were saying that all these people that are coming across the border can now just walk into a voter booth. And if they know that the Democratic Party is the one that let them in, then they're more than likely to vote for a certain party. So it's kind of like a way to sway elections. How do you feel about that? I
think that could be true. But the problem is I'm on the left. And this most recent election has shown us that a lot of blacks and Latinos have made a swing for the right. So a lot of people, when they get here, and I was actually talking to a guy recently, it was Latino who's here. And he was saying how it's weird in his communities that once people get here, illegally or not, they try to kick over the ladder. They want to stop more people from coming in. They get here and they want to vote against immigration. They want these motherfuckers rounded up. They want to close the borders and all this shit.
Why do you think that is?
I have no fucking clue. I have no idea.
And also, why do you think that a lot of blacks and Mexicans are going to the right?
I think for black people, it's just been a history of being with the Democratic Party and voting for them and not seeing shit.
So why are you still on that side?
Even a empty promise for good is better than a fulfilling promise for bad. Okay,
so you don't think that what they're doing right now with Doge is a good thing? You think it's a bad thing?
Yes, one, because it's illegal. He was not elected. He was not appointed. He did not have access to our political system. He's a billionaire. For me, he is a fucking billionaire. There is no world right now, especially not in America, where a billionaire has our best interest in mind. For a billionaire to have our best interest in mind is going to have to hurt them, by nature. And he has no interest in hurting himself. That does not make sense to me. You're cutting all these programs that you should not have any sort of access or power to. You aren't appointed by any authority. You are not elected. You subvert an entire process. And basically our Supreme Court said, well, if Trump is God and he can just do that.
But he kind of was elected. We all knew he was attached to Trump.
That's not an election.
But I mean, if I know,
because we don't have any power over that system.
But if I know that, but he's yes, he's not. I mean, he's someone Trump appointed, right?
Over an agency that was just reformed, that was already doing what he's doing and less volatilely.
Yeah,
he's coming in and just flashing shit that we can't even see, and what he's telling us is inaccurate to the truth.
Yeah, he's such a strange character, man. Because if I had $1 billion or whatever he's got, however many billions he's got, there's no way you wouldn't even fucking see me. Like I've never reached a spotlight again.
And that's the sad part too, because he just wants to be like liked and accepted. So he bought fucking Twitter so people would stop saying bad shit. Like he could.
That's not what I heard. I heard he bought Twitter to keep them from censoring stuff. So it's like a censorship free zone now.
Why is everybody's tweets against Elon getting deleted?
Are they?
Yes.
But I mean, I don't have Twitter. I would tweet him right now.
You can find them because there's so many.
No, I would just tweet him right now and be like, fuck you, Elon, just to see.
Bill Burr recently had his podcast where he was saying these fucking billionaires need to be like put down like rabid dogs, and like, you know, there's greedy and selfish, and Elon is laminate face cunt and, you know, shitting on him. He was like, he got a Twitter like notification, like his account's been like suspended or blah blah blah, and it's just like he didn't even use Twitter, he doesn't tweet, but his account got like that shit just because he shot on Elon, like on his podcast, which isn't on Twitter.
Well, Elon was saying recently that some people came to Texas to try to kill him
because of Bill Burr.
No, he didn't say it was specifically because of Bill Burr, but he's saying that his point was that whenever we put this rhetoric out on social media is like that. Because he was trying to draw the line in censorship. He's like, you can't, you know, he wants a censorship-free platform, which is kind of what he's doing with Grok too, is making a censorship-free AI. But there's like this line you have to like teeter where, because if you get online and say, you know, fuck Elon, he needs to die, then there's going to be a person out there that's just deranged, sitting in their house, like, you know, polishing their guns, thinking, you know, all Republicans are bad, and they're going to go fucking take this seriously. They're going to try to do it.
Yeah, which is why some censorship is good, right?
So you're saying that it's good to delete tweets that say kill Elon?
To some degree, because I'm not actually in favor of people going out there and killing Elon. I fucking despise his politics and the way he's operating, but I don't want him dead.
Yeah, I think the issue, what they were trying to subvert was the
Luigi Mangione thing.
Well, no, like the vaccine stuff. Like, you know, doctors getting online and saying, I don't think this vaccine's a good idea, and they immediately get censored.
And yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, when it's like these guys are MDs, like we should listen to their opinions. So like that's kind of like their censorship they're talking about.
But here's the thing. He's promoting like no censorship and then feeling the repercussions of that. So the hypocrisy there, it completely defeats his point. So
the community notes stuff they're doing on Twitter. Do you have Twitter?
Yeah.
Or X? Have you seen the community notes?
Yeah.
That's kind of like an accountability measure for people.
It's contextualizing.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate social media companies doing that. Meta got rid of theirs for some fucking reason, but
they had it?
They had fact checks.
Oh yeah.
And they've like, you know, just kind of taken that away. But I do appreciate that to some degree. But also, I'm okay. Like, I'm a person of free speech. And I do believe that comes with limitations. Not all free speech like should be, especially with how accessible it is now. Like the social media platforms are our new public square, and they need to be regulated as such. Like when I think of free speech, I don't think I can say whatever I want to. I think that I can say whatever I want to in the appropriate context, as long as it doesn't cause or incite any harm or false panic, and the government can't arrest me for it. That's it. But Elon isn't even like going as far as to censor like, you know, the stuff that can lead to like bad shit. He's just censoring criticism of him and Trump. Period.
I'll have to look into that.
Please do, because I'm not so far on the right or left that I can't see like objectiveness. Like I can recognize that Elon's businesses and a lot of shit he's doing with like SpaceX and Tesla. I do love the cars are like still kind of shitty, but like I still love that he's pretty much made electric vehicles a thing.
And he caught a rocket.
And yes, the motherfucker is throwing rockets and catching them and landing them.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the fact that he's, you know, helping that industry and like pushing that shit. Love it. Brilliant for that. But I don't like him entering my government illegally, cutting programs that are necessary that fund child cancer research, acting like a robber baron.
But here's what I'll say to that. I don't think that he wants to do that either, but I don't see anyone else stepping up to the plate.
Like I said, that government agency already was doing stuff like that. So like cutting redundancies, and don't get me wrong, I do think there's a lot of waste in government that somebody should be, but I don't think Elon's fucking qualified for that. I just do not think he's qualified for that. Running America like a business has some merit to it, because businesses run very efficiently and don't operate at a lot of like
with loss.
Yeah. But that's not even the area where he's at. He's just in programs that he don't understand the contract terms around and just cutting shit and deleting entire programs. And even the federal judges are blocking a lot of this shit, saying that it's illegal, it's unconstitutional. The very principles on which we have our nation founded on are being subverted by him and Trump. I can't be by that.
He addressed that the other day on the podcast as well I was listening to. And he basically said that, yes, they're cutting a lot of programs, but they're making it super easy for them not to get cut. That basically he'll reach out to a person who's like names on the list or whatever for like the people that are getting this grant money. And he's like, look, send me a text message with something that you're doing in it. You know, like take a picture of like whatever this location is. And he said a lot of times they're not even trying to do that. It's like no one's even responding to their messages. So that's why they're cutting these programs.
So I could be okay with that. But the problem was he already fucked himself twice with that statement. Where recently when he was at, I think it was like the CPAC event or whatever, he said, he's just tech support. Like they're not actually, like he's not the guy that's in control of anything. He's just tech support. Like there's a lot of old software and systems that he's just trying to update, which is bullshit because that contradicts we saved $55 billion that he keeps putting out and trying to show people the savings. So one, you are cutting. You're not tech support. And those emails, if that is in fact all you're doing, then how do you explain all the numbers you're tossing out about the $55 billion that you're cutting? And two, if all you're trying to see is if they're operating, why did you also then say that all you have to send me is what we're working on is too classified to talk about? And that's it. I just want to see if you're alive. That's what he said. I want to have a pulse check. So like, actually what they're doing doesn't matter. As long as you respond, then that's it. So if all they have to do is just literally say, hi, Elon, and then that's it, he'll leave them alone, is pointless. Because a lot of them don't respond just because the way he did it made them seem like you have to respond with this specific criteria or we're cutting. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we don't even fucking know what's real anymore, you know? That's the bad part about this.
And yeah, I can't even say all of this confidently because I don't know what the reality is. Absolutely. I haven't seen the email.
Yeah. Like it's fun to speculate about this stuff, but like we literally have no clue what's going on in the SQL databases these guys are going through.
Yeah. And I can say what I hear confidently, but I can't be like,
I don't even think
you're wrong because of this. It's like, I don't know. I really don't. I really don't.
Even these places, like where we're getting our information from now, I get mine from like Twitter and shit. That's all I really look at anymore. Twitter and podcast.
I look at, there's a lot of independent media that I look at on both sides. So I look at like, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, Kyle Kalinske, even like somebody like Destiny. I look at The Majority Report, Sam Cedar.
Well, I do enjoy sitting down with people like you. And one of the last podcasts I did was with the guy who's like very far left. It almost feels like people are living in different worlds.
It is. And if you look at a bunch of different like media, especially independent media, when I hop from person to person across the same story, there will be so many different interpretations that even on the left, there's 3 different ways you can look at it. And on the right, there's like 30.
Yeah.
And you don't know what reality is because you're realizing just like the nature of abstraction that information has. Like you can give someone a fact and that fact will have 80 different implications depending on how it's delivered to you.
Well, it's like, what is fact anymore? Because I have a group of friends from back home in Arkansas that we're in a group text message together and they're all Republicans, like hardcore Republicans. So I see what they're saying. And then I'll talk to these guys that are, really far left. And it's like exactly opposite of what they're saying. And it's like, who's right?
Yeah. And that's the problem I'm having because it's like, I don't listen to anyone who's giving me information and being like, yeah, that's it. Like I hear everything now and it's throwing everything into question where it's like,
yeah,
well, okay, you say that. So then I go to like right-leaning stuff, right? And I go, okay, what are y'all saying? And then they say this and I'm just like, well, is that accurate? And then I look it up myself and I'm just like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Like for mainstream media. And it's like, how can we get any semblance of reality when all we have are these media outlets that all give us these reports and links to like government agencies that aren't reporting accurately, that show us all these charts and data and stats that have been like manipulated to skew like very specifically. Like looking at stats and research papers have shown me just how abstractly you have to think about things. Because I looked at a statistic like let's say like women's stats like for abuse, where it's like 80% of the crime or violent crime committed against women comes from men, or like 90%, right? And I've had women throw that at me, and it's like 90% of violent crimes against women are men, and it's like that makes it seem like holy shit, that's a big number, 90% men. But it's like, yeah, that is true, but also you have to look at the raw number. How much crime is committed total that's violent? And like every year we got like nearing 20,000 homicides. 15,000 of those are men killing men, right?
Yeah.
And then the other 5,000 are like some percentage, like mostly women, and then some percentage they don't know who killed who.
But there's a book called How to Lie with Stats.
Yes, and it's so easy to, but it's not. The lie is that there's an epidemic of violence against women, and don't get me wrong, there's violence against women, and it shouldn't happen. The one instance is too many.
Yeah,
but,
no one thinks you're advocating for that.
Right, but I mean, let someone get this and like write an article.
Clip it up.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, he doesn't believe there's violence. It's not that bad. It's like, no, it's bad, but comparatively, like when you're talking about an epidemic of it, you're not reaching anywhere near like what men are facing too, right? Like as men, they think that we are not scared of like the violence out there, and as a man, like you don't operate with like fear in your heart everywhere you go, but there is more of a threat to me by the raw numbers, than there is to like a woman. And I get it, women get into relationships with like these dudes and they go fucking ballistic, and you don't know who's who. But just as a dude is much more willing to kill me just for stepping on his shoes, showing disrespect, being crazy, than he is, his partner. Even though that happens a lot.
Damn.
But I will still be more likely, just as a dude fighting another dude, I will be more likely to die than a woman ever will be.
Yeah, the whole like fighting in a bar and stuff, that's crazy to me.
Fighting in public is actually wild because you don't know what could happen. Like manslaughter is a thing.
Yeah.
Like even if you're not trying to kill someone, it happens by accident so much. And God forbid you don't know who the fuck you're fighting, especially in New Orleans.
Yeah. And
let's say you win. Even if you win, you might not win. You don't know what that dude has on him. You don't know how sensitive his ego is.
Yep.
Fighting is, I feel like a lot of dudes don't say it, but it's fucking scary. Like, don't do it.
We had an altercation in the bar. It was a couple of years ago now. But the bartender at the time, it doesn't work anymore, but he did not handle the situation well at all. Yeah. The guy that I
think he told me about this.
Yeah, is like is a Hispanic guy that was bartending, and it was a black guy that they had the altercation with, and the Hispanic guy said something disrespectful to the guy's girlfriend. So he took disrespect to that, and he approached the bartender and said something to him. But the black guy was a big dude.
Right.
He's about my height. He's about 6'4", and he was fucking jacked, which made the bartender nervous as fuck. Right. So he basically kicked the guy out, and the guy left because his girlfriend was here. The guy went home, took the girl home, and then fucking drove his car back up here and jumped out of the car outside. And I was sitting outside. I saw the whole thing happen. I was going to reprimand the bartender later for not de-escalating the situation. Right. But I saw the guy get out of the fucking car and start walking into the bar. And I was like, this is not going to be good. So I jumped up in front of the guy and I was like, hey man, shook his hand and calmed the situation down. But yeah, you never know. Like when he pulled back up and got out of that car, I was like, is he going to have a fucking gun on him? He's going to come in here strapped and just fucking mow down the bartender. Man,
and that happens.
Yeah, it does.
I didn't even, I got a gun pointed at me and I wasn't even in the situation. It was at the well. And these other two dudes were, bro, the only time if I had a gun in my presence and been shot at was situations I wasn't even fucking involved in, okay?
What did he point a gun at you for?
So they were arguing, and I'm talking to like another group of comedians. And I think they were paying attention. I wasn't, because I'm like, if we look over there, we get involved.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, imagine like, this is the corner of the bar, right? Uh-huh. And we're like right here. Uh-huh. And they're like right there, right? And so like, they keep looking up, and I'm like, don't worry about that. Like, it's just a conversation. But they eventually get uncomfortable. Like these guys are yelling. And I'm just trying not to even know what they're yelling about. I'm just talking to them. And eventually they disengage when the dudes go inside. And then my friends go, okay, you know what? We're going to go. And I'm like, okay, bye. And my car's around this corner. So like after like a minute or two of wrapping up, I turn the corner. And if you can imagine, like that's the street, right? Like It's the street. The cars are parked. My car's just like right there. He pulls up in his truck right at the corner as I'm turning it. And he gets out and points it at me and goes, "The fuck do you want?" And I'm like,
What?
literally nothing. Like, you hopped out of your car to do this shit. I wouldn't even fight with you, dude. I didn't fuck your girl or whatever the fuck you were arguing about. I'm just trying to go home. And I'm like, he just stays there, and I just like go inside, and I'm like, "Hey, y'all boys tripping." Like,
That's fucking wild, man.
he just pulled up with a fucking gun and pulled off, and I'm just like, I don't know if he's about to like swing the block. I'm gonna stay here for a minute.
Yeah, I don't even like go out to like large or places with a lot of people anymore because people be crazy, man.
People are fucking tripping nowadays, and I can get it to some degree, but man, we don't need to be killing each other. We need to be killing politicians. And I'm just don't do that, please.
Bro, one night I was at some bar in the Bywater area, and they had like a taco stand outside, and the taco stand was fucking packed, and I was like, I'm hungry. So I go up there and get some tacos, and one of my buddies was up there, and I was like, "Yo, dude, I'm just gonna like give you some money, grab me a taco."
Right.
Yeah, because he was like close to the line. And he's like, "All right, cool." And then he had to walk away for a second. He's like, "Dude, you can just stand here." So I was like, okay. So I stood in line, and everyone there was like, "Did you just fucking cut in line?" I was like, "Nah, dude. Like, my buddy's one of the performers. Like, he had to go inside and get ready for his show." And dude, you would have thought that I fucking just walked up and cut in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I was like enemy number one, and I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
That could have got sticky because I remember Hi-Ho, like not that long ago, maybe almost a year now at this point. There was a taco pop up, the best tacos in the city, Tacos del Creation.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my girl at the time were there. We got tacos. I think I left my keys at the bar. We leave, go to the other place. By the time I get there, I'm like, fuck, I don't have my keys. Turn back around. When I get there, the whole place has like the yellow tape around it. And people are like gone. Like, the place is emptied out from a packed bar to just emptied. And there's all the yellow tape, all the cops and shit. And I'm walking up trying to get into the building. I'm like, what the fuck happened? And they're like, there was a shooting. I'm like, just now? I was here like 5 minutes ago. Literally 7-minute drive. And came back. And I don't know what it was about.
Yeah, I was like,
you guys, bro.
You motherfuckers want to fight me for tacos? I got you ass.
I can only imagine it was probably something dumb. Like,
started fucking spraying.
Like, oh, you want to cut? Like, bro,
probably
what?
do something stupid. Who the fuck knows?
I mean, I've gotten into a fight in middle school for people cutting, but it was like a middle school fight.
Well, yeah, I got a bunch of fights in high school and even college. Yeah, I listen to this happened in college. So I'm dating this. I went to college in Tennessee at Bethel University. And I go there and I have a girlfriend. I think it's my second semester that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And she's in the girls' dorms. I'm in the boys' dorms. And I get a text message from her. And she's like, "Hey, my ex just pulled up." Her ex was a football player from like another college down the road, like an hour away or something. He drove there, just like fucking confessed his love for her or some shit.
Okay.
And I was like, "Thanks for telling me. Do you want me to come handle it?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. What do you got in mind?" I said, "Give me my number." So keep in mind at the time, I'm like this big around. Okay. I'm like stick thin, dude. And I just got in college. So I called the guy. I'm like, "Yo, I'm going to come over and we're going to go down to the tennis courts and we're going to have a talk."
Okay.
And so I go over and I get in his truck and this motherfucker's just
jacked,
bro, just huge, jacked up truck and everything. You know, he's like compensating for all kind of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so I get in his truck. I direct him down to the tennis courts and we pull up and he gets out of the truck and he's like, "All right, let's fucking do this." And he starts walking up to me and I'm like, "I'm not going to fight your fucking ass." Yeah. About that time, the football team and the basketball team pulled up into the parking lot. And I was like, "I ain't going to fight your ass. They are." Bro, they stomped that motherfucker in the ground.
Oh, bro. Wait, hold on. Did he plan on hurting her?
No, he was trying to tell her that, you know, like he loved her or whatever. Like he wanted to get back with her, but I already swooped in.
Heard. I mean, hey, look.
And then I used strategy to my advantage.
Let's come to my territory.
Because he would have beat my ass, dude.
I don't have a crew with me. So I would have probably just been like, "All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be there. Let him do it. Let him say everything, and I'll just be there."
What do you mean?
Let him say everything he wants to you. "I love you," all this stuff, and I'll just be
to
there.
The girl?
Yeah. And then just once he's done, do this. Just go nice. And then walk away. Like, let him lay his heart on the line. Just go cool. And then we both just walk away.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be way more hurtful.
Yeah, I probably would.
Like, that's, you know, you can get stomped out, go to the hospital, get patched up, go out. But heartbreak, that's gonna follow you.
Yeah, it's a weird situation because after that we like went to because she was from that area.
Mhm.
We went to like one of their high school games or whatever because her dad was a basketball coach. And we literally walked in and we sat down and he was fucking right behind me. I'm like, dude, I'm about to get just stolen in the fucking head right now. This dude's just gonna knock me out.
I would not have said that. I'd have been like, hey, let's get a little higher up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's situations. Thankfully, I've never dated anyone. I have great taste in women. I will say that. Every woman I've dated has been fucking fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
And
you're
has a great
dating older
husband.
women, like you said, you know,
Well, I mean, I guess so, true. But
they've already dealt with all the bullshit.
even the younger ones that I've had experiences with, I just have good taste in women, and I guess women have good taste in me too. But yeah, I've just been lucky. I've never had to like really deal with anything like that.
Never really had much luck in relationships. My brain is so fucking spastic
Yeah.
that it's hard for me just to like go, okay, I'm with you now. And it's not like a sexual thing. I'm not going out trying to fuck everything, even though I did when I was in my 20s.
No, you're 20s.
Yeah. But like, it's just, I got so much stuff going on that it would make sense to have one person.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I've gotten to this level of shit that I got going on where I can't even like stop to get to know someone. Cause you know, that like initial phase of getting to know someone.
Yeah, that's a pretty slow process.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Like you got to slow down for that.
yeah, I don't have time for that anymore. So,
That-
which is fine though. Cause I mean, that means I get to do more cool shit like this.
Well, that's the thing too. You find that, the people that you want to give that time to,
Mhm.
they kind of have to be worth it. Like when your life is full, because I've noticed that a lot of people hop into relationships because they have nothing else going on.
Yeah.
You can't do that because that person becomes your everything.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have shit going on. When you have shit going on that you enjoy and you're having fun, somebody else who's in that position is going to see that and want to join you in that. They're not coming with stress and bullshit and trying to figure shit out. They figure out what they want to do. They have shit to do. They're not on you, like fucking attached. They have an independent life. They have things they're involved in that they enjoy that's separate from you. And I think that because it did an open relationship and I thought that was the cure to this problem. But it turns out just being a fulfilled human is like just having a life that you enjoy outside of someone else. Because when you face heartbreak, a lot of people face it and it's like the most destructive thing for them. I think the cure to that is to build a life that is good without the person. And then when you have that person, they are additive to that life. They
Yeah.
can become the life. And then when they leave, you can still feel remorse for their presence, but you won't be destroyed by it because you have a life that you enjoy to go back to and fall back on.
Open
Like-
relationship, dude. How did that work?
It worked fantastically. The problem is, I would only, because this was, again, with an older woman. And I would only have ever pursued this with an older woman because there's too many young people that think open relationship is a very good way for like an ego thing to happen, right?
Okay.
Especially for men. Like what they think is just, I'm gonna have all these women fucking me all the time. When if you thought for just half a second, a woman can outfuck any dude any
Yeah.
day of the week at any fucking time, okay? So like for dudes, if you're thinking about going into an open relationship, just don't do it. If you're just trying to fuck, it's not gonna happen. A woman will outfuck you, will fuck you under the table. Literally, you will be under the table while she's fucking some dude. Like it's not good. Like you will destroy yourself. Don't do it. That's not what it's for. So the mindset that we went into it with, and we did a lot of talking beforehand, which you have to do. You can't just go into like, yeah, let's do the open thing. You have to talk a lot, and we did.
Communication's key, man.
We talked for months before we set it up, and what we found was the way we wanted ours to look and what we wanted it to solve was a problem of a recognition of truth in each other. Whereas like, I can't be everything for you emotionally and what we desire out of relationships a lot of the time. And you can't be that for me.
Okay.
My emotional, sexual, mental, and spiritual selves are all so much larger and different than what you have the capacity to feel in your own largeness and differentness. And those pieces that aren't being made up for, that we can't puzzle piece together, that don't mesh well, are going to inevitably lead to resentment in some ways. Of course, in a relationship, you can change in order to fit each other over time.
So you were hoping that happened? I mean, ultimately it didn't work out, right?
Yes, but for different reasons than the relationship. The relationship was amazing. It was stuff outside the relationship. We just had to end it. But that was like one of the best relationships I've been in. But those puzzle piecing of ourselves that complement each other, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, clicked well enough already. But the parts that were on the fringes that didn't quite fit, we came to each other as a way of saying, hey, this open relationship would work in such a way that you would be allowed to explore that other emotional part that I don't make up for, or that other sexual part that I don't make up for, or that other mental part that I don't make up for. But where we click will be where we click. And that's the part that we get from each other. We can find that fulfillment in another person, and we are allowed that. We allow ourselves to do that as long as there's open communication about this person and the nature of my relationship with them outside of it. Don't need details. Just knowing when your time's being spent with them, that they exist, that they fucking exist, and that they know about me. And, rules around that too. Like having clear, open communication about it. And it's not just an open relationship. It was a polyamorous one. So open, I take as sexual, like you're open, you guys can have sex with a bunch of people, but they aren't coming into the relationship.
What is polyamory then?
Then that's emotional, where you are in a relationship with someone else. It doesn't necessarily need to even be sexual, which works for asexual people a lot of the time.
Hang on. Okay. What now?
So when you're polyamorous, that means multiple loves, right?
Okay.
Like poly.
So you were polyamorous. You weren't just open.
Both, yeah.
So you had other women.
Open polyamory.
You had other women that you were not only sleeping with, but you're also in love with them?
I only operated on the open side, like just the sexual side, because as far as the relationship and emotional side went, she was all I need. Actually, the details of my thing was different. So after we talked about it and we actually opened it up, what we found was that we had no desire to, because just the initial accepting of that part of each other was so fulfilling that it then like scooped in more of those parts that we felt weren't matching. Like we felt more emotionally and spiritually fulfilled by the fact that we had found someone who was willing to accept that. Because it was hard to find someone who was like willing to meet on that level before we met each other.
Yeah, I'm afraid I would have walked away from that one too.
Yeah,
if a chick came to me and was like, hey, I need this, and I'd be like, I don't want to deal with any of this, I'm gone.
Right. And that can be a scary proposition. It's understandable when you actually understand the ramifications and you aren't just thinking like of a fucking harem. But it was weird to find someone who actually like we both understood, and like the way we spoke about it, we could tell that we knew that we were both on the same page, that we were going into it for these reasons. And before I could even like make a point or think of a point, she would like interject with another point. And I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I can tell you're thinking the way I am about it, because you're reaching conclusions that I haven't even seen or gotten to yet, that are inevitable conclusions.
Okay, so that's what you liked about her, that you guys were compatible on a mental level as well.
Yes, and emotional, like we were just set up that way to think about this endeavor the same way. We didn't miss each other. It wasn't me explaining and informing and the other person going, oh, okay, I see. It was like, yes, that's what I want. And this, and it's like, oh, yes, that. Like we were compatible. We knew that's what we wanted and we got it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had that connection with another a human.
No?
Yeah, I would say woman. I don't think I've ever had a connection with another woman. I could see it working though with an older lady. I couldn't see an open relationship working with a young lady though, because the reason I say that is because an older lady's not really getting pregnant anymore. If a young woman got pregnant, then I would be questioning whether or not it's my child. And I don't feel that I could ever raise another man's kid.
I mean, there's tests for that. But
it's just like a weird position to be in, Because like, what if the baby was someone else's? Then would you stay with the woman, or would you terminate the baby?
That's one of the flaws of it.
Or would you eat the baby?
I mean, I do be hungry, but I've never had no stewed infant before. But I'm interested. But that's one of the flaws of polyamory and open. Like, it's not meant for family building, and I was okay with not having kids, and she was too. Like up to that point, she never had kids, so it was like, okay, the proof's in the pudding with you. I really don't want kids. I can't take care of them. So if I had a kid, I would do my damnedest. But right now I know I can't, so I'm refraining. But we clicked on that level too. So like a lot of the pieces lined up to where it was just a really cool thing to do. And we were compatible in that way. And just the initial accepting of that and knowing we were on the same page and then allowing our relationship to go that way actually encompass more of the parts of ourselves that didn't match. Where we were in lockstep, like we locked in like real hard, because just understanding the open relationship and ramifications and accepting it truthfully and openly and honestly, and talking to each other about our insecurities about it, our fears about it, our concerns about it, and addressing them truthfully and openly.
Bro, we're such a great duo. You just went into that level of in-depth explanation on you and your woman staying together. And I literally broke up with a chick because she asked me to buy a couch. This podcast is going to be great. All right, AJ, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Where can the people find you at? AJ is going to be helping with the podcast out from here on out.
Yeah, so you can find me here.
You'll be hearing this motherfucker all the time.
Oh, yeah. Check out here to find me. Check out here to find Kyle, obviously. And yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to have amazing people on. We're going to be growing them and ourselves.
It's going to be awesome.
And exposing you all to some real cool people who don't, want to become billionaires and take over our fucking government. And
hopefully in the next few months, we'll have the little studio up too. So maybe we'll be in an actual location rather than just on this stage, which nothing wrong with the stage, but you know.
Yeah, we are going to grow. And I'm excited to see our audience and the people that like this podcast grow with us.
Absolutely. Well, AJ,
it's exciting.
Thank you for coming in today, my man.
Thank you.